If you lived through 1984, get ready to relive some memories. If you're just discovering these hits, you're in for quite a ride. There are some amazing songs and stories, so let's start our journey with a band that completely reinvented themselves. Yes kicked off 1984 with Owner of a Lonely Heart, marking a dramatic departure from their progressive rock roots. Formed in 1968, Yes had built a devoted following with complex, lengthy compositions that showcase their musical prowess. However, the arrival of producer Trevor Horn and new singer Trevor Rabin in the early 80s led to internal conflicts that nearly destroyed the band. Original vocalist John Anderson quit in protest over the new direction. During the recording sessions, guitarist Trevor Rabin created the main riff while writing an entirely different song. The track features one of the earliest uses of digital sampling in a rock song, incorporating elements from James Brown's Funky Drummer and a Kool and the Gang horn section. Culture Club burst onto the scene with Karma Chameleon, though the band's success was overshadowed by personal turmoil. Formed in 1981, Culture Club quickly became controversial due to Boy George's androgynous appearance and his secret relationship with drummer John Moss. Record executives initially wanted to keep George out of music videos, fearing American audiences wouldn't accept his image. The distinctive harmonica riff wasn't part of the original recording plan. Session musician Judd Lander was recording in another studio when producer Steve Levine heard him playing in the hallway. Levine immediately invited him in, and the iconic melody was recorded in just 2 takes. Van Halen's Jump represented a dramatic shift that divided both fans and the band itself. Eddie Van Halen had fought for years to incorporate synthesizers into their sound, meeting fierce resistance from frontman David Lee Roth and producer Ted Templeman. The tension became so severe that Roth initially refused to record vocals for the track. This conflict would eventually contribute to his departure from the band in 1985, ending Van Halen's original lineup. The synthesizer riff that drives Jump was actually written in 1981, but it took Eddie Van Halen 2 years to convince the band to record it. In fact, he completed the entire instrumental track in his home studio before showing it to his bandmates. Hey guys, we're just getting started with our journey through 1984. If these behind-the-scenes stories are bringing back memories, take a moment to hit that like button. Share your thoughts in the comments below. Subscribe now to join our community of music enthusiasts who aren't afraid to dig deeper into the stories behind the songs. Kenny Loggins brought us Footloose, but few know that this chart-topping hit almost never made it to his microphone. Coming off his successful transition from folk rock duo Loggins and Messina to solo stardom, the song faced backlash from religious groups who claimed it promoted rebellion against traditional values. The song had to be recorded multiple times because of constant changes to the film's dance sequences. Phil Collins emerged as a solo force with Against All Odds, though his journey from Genesis drummer to pop superstar wasn't without controversy. Many Genesis fans accused him of abandoning the band's progressive rock roots. What they didn't know was that Collins wrote this deeply personal song during his painful divorce. The song almost remained buried in Collins' vault. It was originally titled How Can You Just Sit There and was rejected from his first solo album. Only when film director Taylor Hackford personally pleaded with Collins did the song finally see the light of day. Lionel Richie's Hello dominated the charts despite generating controversy over its music video featuring a blind student sculpting her teacher's head. Richie was actually going through a severe creative block with the pressure so intense that Richie developed insomnia during the recording sessions. The infamous clay head sculpture from the video looked nothing like Richie, and he knew it. The singer later revealed he was too polite to mention this to the video's director, who was convinced they had created a masterpiece. Denise Williams delivered Let's Hear It for the Boy for the Footloose soundtrack, but her path to success was anything but smooth. Starting as a backup singer for Stevie Wonder in 1972, Williams faced constant pressure from record executives to abandon her gospel roots for a more commercial sound. The song was actually written by Dean Pitchford and Tom Snow for a male artist, but Williams insisted on keeping the original lyrics when she recorded it. During the recording session, the power went out in the studio, but Williams kept singing in the dark, and that take ended up being the one used in the final version. Cyndi Lauper struck gold with Time After Time. Time after time. Though her record label initially fought against releasing it. Emerging from the New York club scene and her failed rockabilly band Blue Angel, Lauper battled her way through the male-dominated music industry. The title, Time After Time, came from Lauper spotting a TV guide listing for the 1979 science fiction film of the same name. She liked how the words sounded and wrote them down before having any melody. Duran Duran's The Reflex became their first American #1, but the path there was filled with tension. The original version of The Reflex was dramatically different. Producer Nile Rodgers completely reconstructed the track, causing arguments within the band. During the recording of the song's distinctive "Wii" effect, Nile Rodgers actually sampled LeBon's voice and played it backward through an early electronic sampler. The effect was so unusual that radio programmers initially thought their equipment was malfunctioning when they first played the song. Prince unleashed When Doves Cry in 1984, stripping away the bass line at the last minute, a decision that horrified Warner Brothers executives. Starting his career as a teenage prodigy in Minneapolis, Prince deliberately created controversy by challenging racial and gender norms. The iconic scream at the beginning of the song wasn't planned. Prince had burned his hand on a malfunctioning smoke machine just before recording the vocal track, and the scream was a genuine reaction to pain. If you're feeling the electricity of these stories, don't keep it to yourself. Hit that subscribe button right now and join thousands of others who remember when these songs first hit the airwaves. And don't forget to click that notification bell. You won't want to miss the next video. Ray Parker Jr. created Ghostbusters under extreme pressure, having only 48 hours to write and record a theme song that would satisfy the movie producers. Starting his career as a teenage guitarist for Stevie Wonder, Parker found himself in a legal battle when Huey Lewis sued him and Columbia Pictures, claiming the song plagiarized "I Want a New Drug." The lawsuit was settled out of court, with both parties signing confidentiality agreements that Lewis later violated in a VH1 interview. The famous "Who You Gonna Call" chorus wasn't even Parker's idea. It came from director Ivan Reitman's young son, who blurted it out during a planning meeting. Tina Turner's "What's Love Got to Do With It" marked one of music's greatest comebacks. What's love got to do with it? After escaping her abusive marriage to Ike Turner, she was cleaning houses in London to make ends meet. Record executives told her she was too old for a comeback at 44, and she only recorded the song after her manager begged her to give it a chance. Before reaching Turner, the song was rejected by Cliff Richard and Donna Summer. When Turner finally recorded it, she completed the vocal track in one take, then refused to do it again, saying she wanted to preserve the raw emotion she felt during that first performance. John Waite's "Missing You" topped the charts, but its genesis came from anger rather than heartbreak. I ain't missing you at all. Breaking away from his band The Babies in 1982, Waite was fighting with his record label over creative control. The song's emotional lyrics were actually about his frustration with music industry executives. The song's distinctive vocal style, with its cracking emotion, came from Waite recording while battling a severe cold. His producer wanted him to re-record the vocals once he felt better. Prince and the Revolution returned to #1 with "Let's Go Crazy," the opening track from Purple Rain. Oh no, let's go crazy. The sermon-like introduction was Prince's direct response to religious critics, particularly televangelist Jimmy Swaggart, who had labeled his music pornographic. The blistering guitar solo at the end was recorded in a hallway because Prince wasn't satisfied with the studio acoustics. He made the crew move all the recording equipment into the corridor at 3 a.m. and nailed the solo in just one take. Stevie Wonder's "I Just Called to Say I Love You"
I just called to say I love you
earned him an Oscar but cost him credibility with many R&B fans. The song marked a dramatic departure from his socially conscious music of the 1970s, leading fellow Motown artist Berry Gordy to publicly criticize him for going soft. Despite being blind, Wonder performed every instrument on the track himself, including complex synthesizer programming. He memorized the location of every button and knob on the equipment, often spending hours perfecting single sequences that other musicians could have recorded in just minutes. Billy Ocean's Caribbean Queen dominated airwaves worldwide, though few know it exists in multiple versions. Ocean, born Leslie Sebastian Charles in Trinidad, recorded separate versions as European Queen and African Queen for different markets. All versions became hits in their respective regions. The iconic saxophone riff that drives the song was played by Vernon Jeffrey Smith, a session musician who had never played on a hit record before. Smith nailed it in one take, then disappeared from the music scene entirely. No one in the industry knows what became of him. Wham's Wake Me Up Before You Go-Go stormed the charts, while George Michael privately struggled, forcing him to date women publicly while privately wrestling with his true self. Wake me up before you go. The song's upbeat nature masked the personal turmoil happening behind the scenes. The song's inspiration came from a note Andrew Ridgeley left for his parents, accidentally writing Go-Go twice. The backing vocals weren't recorded by a group, they're all George Michael, layered multiple times through innovative recording techniques of the day. Daryl Hall and John Oates hit #1 with Out of Touch. During a period of intense personal conflict. The duo recorded most of their parts separately as their creative partnership crumbled. Hall wanted to experiment with new wave sounds, while Oates preferred their traditional style. The song's distinctive warp synthesizer opening happened by accident with the tape machine malfunction. Producer Bob Clearmountain liked the weird sound so much that he kept it in the tune. Madonna's Like a Virgin wrapped up 1984 with perhaps the year's most controversial hit. Producer Nile Rodgers initially refused to work on it. Written by Billy Steinberg about his feelings after divorce, the song was never intended for a female artist. Several radio stations banned it, which only fueled its popularity. The bass line that everyone associates with a song isn't actually a bass guitar. It's Rodgers playing a synthesizer after firing the session bassist who couldn't capture the right feel. Madonna recorded the vocals while fighting a 102-degree fever, giving her voice that distinctive, slightly raspy quality that became her signature sound. And there you have it, the #1 hits that made 1984 unforgettable. If you enjoyed this musical journey, make sure to subscribe and ring that bell so you're notified the next time a video drops.